is a house phone. I wish you would shut up, plus I'm trying to do a recording thing. House phone, stop. It's still going. Alright, what up boys, welcome to another balance change video. Today we're going to do it on Reddit because I had a few comments saying that, oh, they write important stuff, and maybe they do, but maybe they don't. Anyway, we're on Reddit, we're going to read through them. I've glanced over these, I haven't read too much into them, I've just, like, looked to see if there's anything major. Spoiler alert, sort of not. Let's just read them. Alright, so Royal Ghost hit points minus 9%. 9% is a big old number. Essentially, the Dead King has maintained a high level of performance throughout multiple metas, always floating, get it? See, they don't write informative stuff sometimes, but sometimes they do. Above the acceptable win rate, despite counters like Prince, Valkyrie, and Knight having a strong presence in the meta, Royal Ghost just keeps looking better. Okay, disagree with this line. Prince, Valk, Knight. Okay, there's Prince, right? Top 19, yeah, sort of. Here's Valk, 48. That one's not true. And here's Knight, 52. That one also isn't true. I get what they're saying, because if you actually look at this, well, counters like Prince, yes. Counters like Lumberjack, yes. Counters like Hunter, yes. Counters like Guards, yes, in the top 30. But why reference Valk and Knight when they're just not used? Like 5% and 4% isn't anything. Don't get that, but whatever. Royal Ghost deserved a nerf. 9% is pretty hefty, but maybe it's what it needed. I'm scared because it's been nerfed like so many times before, and I feel like this one's just the one that kills it. I don't think it's 9% overpowered, but we'll see. I think it might just be the death of a ghost, if that makes any sense. So next is Royal Hogs, which we sort of all suspect that their damage is going down 6%. Now, this seems like a really small buff, but this is where the text actually comes into it. The King's personal pets have slimmed down a little bit. Each hog had the same in-game mass of a hog rider, which made them push defenders out of the way a bit too easily. The lower weight and less damage should reign in the most winningest win condition in the game. So you know how troops, they sort of collide into each other and they seem to have a mass, but it's not actually given to us in the game? Well, now the Royal Hogs are lighter, which is pretty insane because they're just going to be pushed away by pretty much anything, and I also feel like this card is now going to die with Ghost. I don't know about die, but I think it's certainly not going to be good anymore. The 6% damage was probably enough, or the weight change was probably enough, but both? Yikes. I know I sound like a ultra hypocrite on this because I always complain like, oh, they only did 9% and 6% and whatever, but yeah, maybe it's too much. I was sort of okay with this one being a small change. The big changes I want are from the cards that are just like really bad to bring them up. But yeah, maybe Royal Hogs just aren't too good anymore. Although I do agree with it. They were insanely strong and insanely annoying for a long time, so it's fine. Inferno Tower is an interesting one just because I actually found out that the changes had come out through Twitter because the Rumham was tweeting out about Inferno Tower gaining more hit points. Essentially, the thought behind this was that Inferno Tower's DPS sort of comes when it's about to die, because that's when it's fully ramped up. So the thought was, well, if it lives for like one hit by like most units, it will get one more tick of damage, which can be insane for a fully heated up Inferno Tower. And the logic behind buffing it was that the control style decks are falling out of meta. The natural predator to giants, Lava Hounds, and Golems haven't been as reliable in a world of Zaps, E-Wizards, E-Dragons, and not so much Lightnings, that's why I didn't write it, but Lightning 2, lasting a bit longer allows the Inferno Tower to deal even more damage. Yeah, I agree with it. Inferno Tower buff is cool, but I don't really see it changing in the meta too much because of 3% hit points. I feel like the card is okay, but I feel like people just don't want to use it, and I believe they've just given it 3% because that's what they believe as well. I think really this buff is just like, oh look, we buffed it, try it out, it's actually not too bad. It's less so about actually buffing the card, which is why in here they didn't really justify it. They just went, oh look, it does this thing to counter this thing. So I feel like they knew Inferno Tower was okay, but they just wanted to give it a nudge so people actually try it out. Alright, so here's probably the biggest one combined with the next one, but here is probably the biggest buff of them all. Skeleton Barrel death damage plus 62%. Skeleton Barrel deserved the buff, agree, but we didn't want to encourage more spell bait style strategies. Increasing the death damage rewards players who can get it to a tower, and increases its defensive value as a blocker. When a huge barrel drops on your head from the sky, it ought to be enough to dunk spear goblins into the ground. So it will. So I don't really understand this part. You don't want to encourage more spell bait strategies. Well, surely it's just as basey, but you've just given it more death damage. Like, people aren't going to be throwing this at a tower and being like, oh look, it got me damage. It does like 67 damage. Even if you doubled that, that's still only like 134. So like, people still, even if it's 100% buff, people still would not be throwing this at towers to get actual damage. This card is a spell bait card, there's no two ways about it. It spawns units which dies to spells that can do incredible DPS. That is like the whole concept of bait. The whole concept of bait is that you get a unit which has low health but does high damage, sure, it can get spelled, but then you use another unit which does the same thing, has high damage, low health. So Skeleton Barrel will always be that because it has low health, high damage. It's a cool buff though because Skeleton Barrel was sort of bad, so now it kills Spear Gobs. That's cool, it's going to be even better against Gang now. Personally, didn't see classic Zap Bait come back with this buff, but Mega Knight is getting a little bit better. It now hits a little bit faster. Mega Knight is a bit too weak against single targets. We wanted to shore up that weakness without increasing DPS too much. While still countered by smaller troops like Knight or Valkyrie, this should make the Mega Knight a bit more formidable. One-on-one. Agree, it does need to be better. 1v1, I'm not sure on the stats right now, but I know the old Mega Knight used to do the same DPS as a miner to like normal troops. Mega Knight's always really been bad at like 1v1 attacks, so this is cool, I guess. I don't really see it becoming ultra meta again unless the meta itself shifts to make Mega Knight good, but I agree it could do with more of a buff, and it's cool to see that they want Mega Knight to be good again. Tombstone, this one is also sort of a big one. The spawn speed is slower, which doesn't actually really do anything. You know, you're not really placing the Tombstone to get the spawn skeletons, you're really just placing it for the spawn skeletons, which are now going down to just 3 when it spawns. One of the linchpins of beatdown decks like Lava Loon was being able to counter a wide range of punishing decks with a single free-cost Tombstone. Being a building up front and a swarm on the back end is very versatile, and as a result, Tombstone has held a very high win rate across multiple metagames. Reducing the total skeleton count by 1 should make it less frustrating to handle. I agree. I did a video recently where I sort of tiny bit covered Tombstone about how it kites and then you get units out of it. Like, no other building does that, so it's actually like pretty good. And just for Elixir as well, it's cool. I definitely do agree that it needed a small tone down. It's not overpowered by any means, but seeing how players have learnt to use it to kite and then get the skeletons out, opposed to just being, you know, like an investment building, I feel like they're really in tune with this one, and it might just be me and you might all disagree, but personally, like this one, very, very small nerf. I feel like it deserved the tiniest nerf, and that's what it got. Giant hit points minus 2% literally just does nothing. Like, what is the point? It literally... What is the point? Why even do this? This is just a waste of a slot. Minus 2%. I understand, it's a big tank, it has a lot, but that's its job. Like, its health is relative to how you use the card. So the 2% nerf doesn't get bigger just because it has more HP, because that's all you're using the card for. So the tower takes 1 less shot to kill him. Wow, I'm gonna stop using Giant now because the tower takes 1 less hit to kill him. No, nobody is saying that at all, ever. Waste of a slot. Screw you, Supercell, you've wasted my time. I don't even know why I covered that, that was so useless. Magic Archer, first attack slower. Over the last year or so, the decks that bait out small spells like Zap or Log evolve into baiting larger spells like Fireball. These decks are effective because many cards that die to Fireball have a very high payoff if they survive. Magic Archer is absolutely one of those cards, so reducing its initial hit speed to give opponents more time to react to its placement, whilst reducing its overall DPS. Right, okay, here's my small little rant on bait in general. Yes, you've nailed it. Cards that have low health, high damage, or high potential damage like the Magic Archer does because of his range, introduce bait. You keep making these cards though, Supercell. We're not making these cards. You're the ones making the cards that have low health but have high damage. I don't have like a list of them on me right now, but Royal Hogs, Zappies, right? Flying Machine, Magic Archer, they're all weak to Fireball, and they're all just insanely good if you don't Fireball them. So no wonder they've all fit into a deck where you're baiting out Fireballs. It's like exactly the only way to use that card, and I have no idea why you keep introducing them and then nerfing them because you've introduced them. Magic Archer as a card isn't overpowered, just as a standalone card. It's only overpowered when it's in Fireball bait decks, and now the card by itself is getting a nerf because of Fireball bait decks. This is just like a much bigger issue than Magic Archer himself. I feel like if you want to really fix that issue, you rework the cards that die to Fireball but have insane payoffs, so they're less of a payoff and just a different card altogether. This is a very, very, very small nerf. However, they don't give any actual stats with this, so it could end up being insane. Like, he could take 3 seconds to take his first shot. We know nothing. Probably won't be that because it's never that dramatic, But yeah, I have nothing to say on this because I don't know how long it actually takes, but there, it's a problem with Fireball Bait, not with Magic Archer himself. Cannon Cart, hit speed going slower by 0.1 second. The rolling, strolling gun on wheels has been a backbone of high-pressure graveyard decks. With its ability to generate value on defense, become a huge threat on offense in order to slow down its overall DPS. This should make it less appealing against traditional offensive options while keeping its two-way versatility alive. I agree, it's cool, although Cannon Cart is like only just in the top half of cards right now. I don't know if you really need to nerf a card that has a 7% usage rate and is currently set at 41 most used card in the game. It's a little bit weird to me, but sure, whatever. I'm not going to complain too much because sometimes it is obnoxious and it's like a tiny nerf, so it's not going to do all that much. Okay, so Dark Gob, this is one where I go on a small little run about it. It's not too much, don't worry, I'm not going to bore you. This narrowly beat Archer's health buff by the community vote. The Little Masked Goblin is a little less popular than the sturdier Flying Machine. We felt like Dark Gob should be high risk, high reward, so bringing its damage up a smidge should make him a compelling choice against other ranged attackers. Sure, but this is also one of those things where it has low health but high damage output and it's now a bait card. So I don't really want Dark Goblin to get a buff because it's very, very annoying. It's just one of those cards where you deal with it or you just lose. It gains so much value for free elixir if you can't deal with it, or it gains no value. It is very, very, very high risk, high reward, and I don't know if the game should be sort of focused around that with these sort of cards that die to log, but also get you insane DPS. Gang's another one, Princess another one, Barrel is another one, and we saw log bait be so good for so long because they don't fix the concept of bait, they just nerf the cards because it's easier. And that's all it really boils down to, it being easier. You look at a lot of these changes, maybe not these ones have been quite good actually, but you look at a lot of the last changes and they're just like, oh, here's 4% to this, or oh, here's 3% to that. And it's just easy, and I hate it because I covered this in a podcast I did quite a while ago, but like, I feel as though when we didn't have consistent balance changes, they were bigger, and we got more, and the meta changed so much more. But here, like, what bad cards have we buffed? Inferno Tower, sort of, but I wouldn't really call it that bad a card. Skeleton Barrel, yes. Mega Knight, yes. Apart from that, like, Dark Gob, sure. So like 3 out of 10 of these changes are buffing bad cards. But you look at the actual game itself and there are so many bad cards in this game. There's like the Wizards and the Bombers and the Skarmies. Like, what are we doing to these cards? They're just left and we've wasted, you know, a slot here on Giant minus 2% hit points. It's so nominal, it just doesn't mean anything. This could have been a total and complete and utter rework to Bomber, right? Or one of those cards, and it annoys me because stuff like the bait problem, it's so easy to not fix and just change the cards individually. It's super, super frustrating, and I wish this was Archers because Archers do need the buff, Siege needs the buff, and just Dark Goblin doesn't really, because it's so high risk, high reward, you're now just increasing that risk, increasing that reward, and it's just, it's so easy and simplistic, and I hate it, and I'm going on a rant in my bedroom at like midday on a Friday about a mobile game. What am I doing with my life? Anyway, boys, overall I like those changes. I know I'm a little bit ranty. Maybe I'm just in a bad mood today, but I don't know. I like these changes. Overall, I do like them. There are a lot there that did change quite a bit. But again, there are also a lot there which felt like a waste of a slot and were just like, oh, this is easy, we'll shove that in. Maybe I'm just being skeptical, who knows, I'll leave you a poll again in the top right if you would like to vote on how you feel about these changes. I know for me, like, they're good, but there's also some waste in here which I wish wasn't wasted. Anyway, boys, please sure to leave me a comment and a subscription and all of that stuff if you feel like you enjoyed my ranty self. But apart from that, boys, peace.